Former President Jimmy Carter dies at 100. China hacks the US Treasury Department, and Cybertrucks apparently are really durable. And more on this week's America Uncovered headlines. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you're recovering from the festivities and still sticking to your resolutions, especially if your resolution is to not plummet into a gigantic sinkhole. If that seems oddly specific, then you don't live in New Jersey, because a sinkhole in northern New Jersey is keeping Interstate 80 closed after a section collapsed into an abandoned mine. I can't think of a better visual representation of 2024 than a giant gaping hole in New Jersey. So between the sinkhole in the ground and the mysterious drones in the sky, there are potential hazards in the Garden State from the land, air, and sea. The danger from the sea, of course, being inhaling all the secondhand Axe body spray from the guys hanging out near the Jersey shore. Former President Jimmy Carter has died. He was 100 years old. His cause of death was being 100 years old, which is pretty dang old. And yet, he still managed to seem more together than current President Joe Biden, who's a mere 82 years old. Carter lived longer than any other U.S. president. Before his death, several media sites reported that Carter wouldn't be attending Donald Trump's inauguration. So I guess we now know they were correct. Wait, how did the media know before it happened? Did they kill him just for a story? This is like Nightcrawler, which was a great movie, despite me still being disappointed it wasn't about the X-Man. All 5 living presidents paid their respects to Carter, with current President Biden calling him a dear friend, Barack Obama calling him a remarkable man, George W. Bush calling him a man of deeply held convictions, and Bill and Hillary Clinton issuing a joint statement praising his dedication to Habitat for Humanity, where he helped build homes for the needy well into his 90s. Wait, maybe it wasn't the media who killed Carter. Did he happen to have any incriminating evidence on Hillary Clinton by chance? And former and future President Donald Trump posted a heartfelt message on Truth Social, urging everyone to keep the Carter family in their hearts and prayers. Wow, what a beautiful, unifying statement for Trump to share. Hats off to whoever wrote that for him. Even Chinese President Xi Jinping expressed deep condolences over Carter's passing. Carter established diplomatic ties with China, severing diplomatic ties with Taiwan in the process. For an in-depth breakdown of how that decision's going, we go now to my twin brother, China Uncensored's Chris Chappell. Chris? Not good! Thanks, Chris. Carter's state funeral will be held on January 9th. The U.S. stock market and federal agencies will close on that day for a day of mourning. Like all presidents and all humans, Carter's legacy isn't all good or all bad. He made mistakes, but he was also an avid humanitarian, even winning the Nobel Peace Prize, the very same prize won by President Obama, because nothing says peace like endless drone strikes. So rest in peace to Carter and all the civilians killed in Obama's peaceful drone strikes. A federal appeals court upheld a New York civil trial's verdict that Trump was liable for abusing E. Jean Carroll in the 90s and ordered him to pay $5 million. Trump's upcoming White House communications director, Stephen Chung, said in a statement that this was a political weaponization of our justice system, called it a witch hunt, and a Democrat-funded Carroll hoax, and said the decision would continue to be appealed. So essentially the greatest hits of what you'd expect a Trump response to be. All that was missing was sad. One thing to keep in mind about the story is that this ruling came from a civil trial, not a criminal trial. So Trump wasn't convicted of sexual abuse. He was just deemed liable for it. If that sounds confusing, welcome to the American justice system. It's kind of like how O.J. Simpson was found not guilty of murder, but in a separate civil trial was found liable for the wrongful deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman in order to pay millions to the families of the victim. But even if Trump winds up having to pay the $5 million, he has plenty of cash, as he is set to receive $15 million from ABC in a settlement over a defamation suit Trump brought against the news network. That defamation suit was over a segment where host George Stephanopoulos repeatedly said Trump had been found liable for rape, which isn't accurate. Trump was found liable for battery, as the jury didn't find there to be enough evidence that Trump raped Carroll. Trump has denied any wrongdoing. So either Stephanopoulos purposefully mischaracterized the judgment, or he didn't know. And when it comes to how these things work, he's more in the dark than Puerto Rico, which experienced power outages on New Year's Eve due to a critical failure of their power grid. Look, there's a lot of news each week, and I have to cram it in however I can. And after the break, China hacks the US Treasury Department. Welcome back. A CCP-affiliated hacker broke into the Treasury Department system in what's being called a major incident. The hacker gained access to workstations and unclassified documents. The compromised system has been taken offline. This is the latest in a string of China-affiliated hackings, with 9 telecom firms being hacked recently. Deputy National Security Advisor Ann Neuberger said action will be taken against China over this, but didn't disclose what type of action. This continues the long history of China aggression against the U.S., and the U.S. response being, "Hey, not cool, man, not cool." I'm sure that'll totally scare them straight and stop a 10th telecom firm from being hacked. For more in-depth breakdown on the implications of this incident, we go back to my twin brother, China Uncensored's Chris Chappell. Chris? Is that good? Thanks again, Chris. Speaking of companies under attack, a Texas man, Taylor Bullard, was arrested for allegedly sending emails to an unnamed debt collection agency threatening to show up to one of the company's locations with a machete and gasoline. He claimed his debt had already been paid. Wow, a man threatening violence against a corrupt industry that often bankrupts Americans? Surely Bullard will be just as much of a folk hero as Luigi Maggioni, right? Right? Well, not so much. First of all, Bullard didn't actually do anything, he just wrote an angry email. According to authorities, this is his 3rd time threatening corporations he believed wronged him, with the first incident happening back in 2017. Also, and more importantly, he's not nearly as dreamy as Maggioni. Remember, you can't start a revolution without action, especially not without a strong jawline. I'm no fan of Joseph Stalin, but I gotta admit, as a young man, he was a total smoke show. He was also a smoke show when he was older, but that smoke was mostly from all of his victims being cremated. At least 15 people were killed and 35 injured when a man drove a pickup truck through a crowd of people in New Orleans on New Year's Day. The FBI is investigating the incident as an act of terrorism. This is because the suspect, Shamsuddin Jabbar, had an ISIS flag in the back of his truck, which, besides being abhorrent and despicable, is also so 2016. Get with the times, man, ISIS? Were you also playing Pokemon Go and messing with a fidget spinner at the time? Everyone knows the hot new form of terrorism is apparently assassinating CEOs. And I do mean hot. Earlier this week, I covered a MAGA civil war brewing over H-1B visas. Luckily, they were able to hash things out, see where both sides were coming from, reach a compromise, and agree to move forward as a unified party in all matters from here on out. Just kidding. The battle still rages on, with Trump coming out in favor of the program.
And I've always felt we have to have the most competent people in our country. We need competent people. We need smart people coming into our country. And we need a lot of people coming in. We're going to have jobs like we've never had before.
So Trump doesn't want illegal immigrants, but wants highly skilled legal ones. Is tough on crime, pro-gay marriage, and a serial cheater. Let's see who's really under that tan mask. Bill Clinton! No wonder Hillary hates him so much. But I'm sure things will turn around. There are good omens everywhere. Like this Tesla Cybertruck that exploded and killed the driver outside Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Yep, this doesn't feel like a portent of doom at all. Officials say this blast was intentional, as explosives and fireworks were found in the trunk of the vehicle. The Cybertruck actually contained much of the blast and kept it from being worse, so good job dying to give Tesla some good publicity? Both this vehicle and the vehicle used in the New Orleans attack were rented from Turo, who I bet wishes Wall Street would close earlier to mourn Jimmy Carter so they don't have to see what this does to their stocks. The Cybertruck explosion is also being investigated as a potential terror attack, though it didn't elicit terror so much as it did a whole lot of memes. But at least the Republican Party as a whole isn't engaged in messy public infighting. What's that, Shelley? Yeah, actually they have been, over whether or not to keep Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House ahead of the Speaker vote that took place yesterday. At the time of this recording, I don't know how that turned out, so please, people of the future, tell me in the comments below. Johnson, who looks like Stephen Colbert in a gravity chamber, lost favorability with some Republicans during his term as Speaker, most recently with his bipartisan spending bill that was shot down thanks to pressure from Donald Trump and Elon Musk. This left Congress scrambling to come up with a new spending bill mere hours before a government shutdown was to go into effect. Despite this, Trump actually came out in support of Johnson to stay on as House Speaker, which Johnson seemingly appreciated.
I'm really humbled and honored to have President Trump's endorsement for Speaker again. He and I work so well together, so closely together, and we have a lot of big things to do. He recognizes that what we need right now, I think my colleagues recognize this as well, is a proven fighter and a true MAGA conservative, but also someone who can work with every single member of our very diverse House GOP so that we can get President Trump's priorities over the line.
Yeah, Johnson can totally work with every single member, including the ones that want to oust him. Leading the charge against Johnson is Congressman Thomas Massie from Kentucky, who criticized Johnson for working with Democrats and says Trump's endorsement will work out as well for Johnson as his endorsement for Paul Ryan as Speaker of the House. Oh, girl, I'm going to call you Thomas Messi because you extra dramatic. So, despite currently holding all three branches of government, Republican infighting could cause chaos, slow or even halt many of Trump's plans, and cause Democrats to retake the House and/or Senate in 2026. You can tell Republicans are the party of the Second Amendment because they just seem to love shooting themselves in the foot. Unless they can all get on the same page, their chance of accomplishing any of their goals are going to be more sunk than that sinkhole in New Jersey. And have you ever wondered what's up with college professors and whips? Yeah, me too. Check out my latest episode of Deep Thoughts While Gaming about Indiana Jones and what he can teach us about the life of your average college professor. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.